here I have a cell and all the organelles that make up a cell. And I'm going to tell you what they are and what they do. So, this is the nucleus, and it houses DNA, which is responsible for all cell activity. That is kind of like the executive department of a factory, and the executive department would be responsible for all the persons and things within the factory. Then we have the nucleolus, who is responsible for assembling and producing ribosomes. That would be like the manufacturer within a factory, responsible for production of items. Then we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum, or rough ER, which has ribosomes on it, and it is responsible for modifying proteins. That would be kind of like the factory assembly line where workers gather to modify products being made within the factory. Those ribosomes are responsible for producing proteins, and that would be kind of like the factory itself responsible for production of a certain item. The smooth ER is responsible for lipid synthesis and absorption of fats and metabolism of drugs and kind of moving those materials around the cell. And that would be kind of like the factory hallways where items that are made can be kind of moved around the factory. Maybe they have shipping docks around that items need to be moved. This here is the Golgi apparatus, which is responsible for packaging protein and lipids into the vesicles. And the Golgi apparatus would be similar to a UPS driver who's responsible for taking packages from the factory, or packaging things from the factory. Those vesicles are responsible for storing and transporting lipid and proteins either within the cell or between other cells. And that would be like the factory workers, or again, the UPS drivers, the factory workers storing items within the factory until they're ready to be shipped, or the UPS drivers taking those items and shipping them where they're needed. Here we have the lysosome, which is kind of like the cleanup crew of the cell. Along with enzymes, it breaks down materials within the cell so that they can be reused. That would be like the factory's dumpster or recycling, where items are, like trash or not usable items are placed. Maybe they can be modified or broke down and reused at a later date. The centrioles are responsible for producing spindle fibers, which are important in cell division, and they always come in pairs. And that would be like a factory's business partner, who is responsible for expanding business around the world, maybe making factories elsewhere. This is the mitochondria, and it is the powerhouse of the cell. It produces ATP. This would be kind of like the factory's power source, whether it be nuclear or coal that generates power to the factory. Here we have the cytoskeleton, which is made of microfilaments or microtubules that give the cell structure and support. This would be like the framework of the factory that support the walls and the ceiling. And then around here that I kind of scribbled in, that is cytoplasm, which is made up of a fluid called cytosol and just kind of occupies the empty space within the cell. Similar to the air in the factory, that just kind of occupies the empty space where there is no matter or mass. This, around the outside, is the plasma membrane. It is made of phospholipids and provide a boundary for the cell. It also regulates what items can come in and out of the cell, and that would be like the factory shipping and receiving department, responsible for items that come into the factory or items that are shipped out of the factory. And that, in a wrap, is a cell and its organelles.